Hi everyone, welcome to Our Focus is You. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause.
Welcome back, everyone. Ken Collins.
We are so super excited for this show today. If you remember back to kind of what we've done in the last couple episodes, we talked about awareness, we talked about self-discovery, we've talked about tools. Today we have our first guest on the show, and we're really excited about that. We're going to introduce him in a minute, but in the meantime, let's kind of talk about what's been going on since the last episode. What's been going on in your world, Ken?
Well, I think for everybody, summer is now actually in the rearview mirror, especially noticing the color on the leaves in the parking lot and the trees that are out there today. But and so with summer in the rearview mirror, what I've noticed is there's an uptick in investing in people, and so I'm really busy nesting and preparing content for trainings with businesses, workshops that I'm involved in, and also one-on-one coaching is ramped up. So
Nice.
You can see that the summer activities are behind everybody, and people are looking to now settle back down into the routines of prior to summer and invest in things. And so I'm pretty excited about being able to have impact in October with the construction industry throughout the state of Wisconsin, with the Associated General Contractors Association, and also to ABC, the Associated Building Contractors as well for the state. So I'll be very active in leadership training there, as well as being a keynote speaker at an HR conference for the state of Wisconsin in the
Nice,
Dells
that's
in
awesome.
October. So a lot of cool things going on there on that front. But enough about me. How about yourself, Tina? What's going on?
Getting ready for the October workshop. We had my very first one back in August, on August 27th, and it was a huge success and had a lot of really great feedback and testimonials out of it. And so we're going to do it all again on October 22nd. Really excited about that. Same place at the Goodman Center here in Madison. And then after that, I'm getting ready to offer a 6-week online, kind of like a group coaching kind of a thing. So, if you've been through the workshop and we've gone through kind of some of that work, the workshop is just really a time where we can all get together privately online and just kind of practice those tools on a daily basis for 6 weeks. It's a really good time for me to kind of hold hands with people that are really trying to clean out some of that baggage and really make improvements in their life. So I have those two programs going on that is keeping me definitely very busy. So.
No, and I'm not just saying this because Tina and I are partners, but I will tell you, I was genuinely impressed with the workshop that went on. Not only the venue, but the daily activities within the workshop. And I thought it was a time to take a pause from the busyness of life for those who attended and do some self-reflecting and understand what it does look like when you look in the mirror, but also keep those limiting self-beliefs on the side because they can hold you back from things. And I was stunned with the emotions in that room on how you were able to get people to look inward very deeply, including myself as an observer. And so a little bit of yoga in between, and then Mary Berg was
there. She was
outstanding.
amazing. Yeah, her story is amazing. It's not about whether she won or lost, right? And it's not about the party. It's really about taking on a huge challenge and knowing it's going to be really scary and just pushing through your comfort zone and making it happen no matter what. And how much she grew in the process is amazing, and I absolutely love her story. So.
Yeah, and it was a reminder, a lot of good things happen when at the edge of that comfort zone you can push past that thin layer that's called the terror barrier.
Yeah, right.
And make stuff happen.
Yeah, so it was really exciting. I'm very excited for October. I think that we're going to pack the house and make some major shift and transformation in people again. So excited about that.
Good deal. Well, as you echoed earlier, I'm really excited about our next guest.
Yeah.
I've known Tim for a number of years now, and when I think of Tim, I think of energy and enthusiasm.
Absolutely, yeah. Smile lights up the room, right?
Oh, yeah. When we talk about choosing the right environments of positivity and optimism and things like that, the environments, not only that Tim injects that enthusiasm and energy, but also where he chooses to hang out with youth sports and AdvoCare. I've been in those environments as well, and it really is another reflection of what Tim is. And so I'm really excited to share him with everyone else here today.
Absolutely. How about we do that?
All right.
All right, Tim Ritschard. I would like to introduce Tim to everybody. I've just met Tim recently within the last couple of months, and Tim is awesome. I've really enjoyed getting to know him, but you've known him for a lot longer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And the relationship continues to grow and build, and it's not a surprise, but like-minded people tend to find each other.
Right.
We're very passionate, as well as you, Tina, about adding value to others, and so I'm interested in his story.
Yeah, so Tim, tell us a little bit about you and kind of where you came from and what you got going on.
Oh, fantastic. Well, hey, thanks for having me today. I'm glad to be here. So I appreciate all of the comments and things shared so far. And I've been following the episodes like everyone else on the channel here, and it's been incredible. So
Thank you.
With that said, a little bit about myself. Tim Ritschard, live here in Sun Prairie, been here for 9 years, married with 2 young boys, 10 and 8 years old, and also love being part of the Sun Prairie community. And a little bit about my background real quick. I'm a farm boy from southern Wisconsin, okay? So not too many farmers these days, but grew up about 40 minutes west of here in a small community. We moved from an area even further south in Wisconsin from a dairy farm, and we moved and we tried to assimilate into the community, and I think above all we did, and the community was welcoming, but at the same time it was a unique situation because just reflecting back on growing up in a small town. There's things that maybe you just may not fit in or feel like you fit in right away. So I was always looking to do that because we were one of the first Asian families to move into that community.
Sure.
So it was one of those things where I think we adjusted really well, and the community was welcoming as well. So that's kind of a little bit background there, and what I do now is I've as far as career-wise, everyone wants to know, hey, what do people do? What are they passionate about? And I think as we grow older and we try to find our passions as we were as kids and our dreams as kids, I think that's very important. And I've done a lot of different things over life, like most of us have, anywhere from delivering pizzas to selling shoes to working for a Fortune 500 healthcare company,
Right.
to being in the printer parts industry for over 17 years now. And also what I'm passionate about, I'm an independent distributor with Advocare. I'm a health advocate with them. And another thing that I found a passion about 4 or 5 years ago by coaching my son's basketball team was youth coaching and youth sports.
Right.
And so I just really have a passion for that and being able to bring a positive influence to the kids.
So what were some of, you said you grew up in a small town, you guys
Yeah.
were the first Asian family in that town. There has to be challenges that come with that. Even though people were welcoming, what were some of the challenges that you faced kind of growing up as you grew up through youth sports and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, as a kid coming into a community like that, you're trying to find a way to fit in, right, and to be accepted. And back then, probably through 4th or 5th grade, I had a bad stutter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
so that was one of those things where you'd have the teacher come and work with you and all of that, and I just knew that if I just kept working at it, I'd work through it, right? So one of the things that I gravitated towards and thought, hey, if I could be good at something, I'd be accepted, okay? And back then, hey, when we had the mile race in gym class, I wanted to win the race. When we played basketball, I wanted to do it as well as I could. So I gravitated towards sports because that was kind of my outlet.
Right.
Because as a young kid, with our family life, we grew up. One of my parents was a alcoholic, and it was tough at the time. Just not really having that safety net, so-called safety. And so basketball, we grew up in back then. Who was the biggest basketball player of our time back then? Michael Jordan, right? So I grew up watching his games, and just that gave me some belief and hope that, hey, you know what, I want to be somewhat like him and do my best at that. And I just kept striving. Hey, I obviously didn't have the physical attributes as some players and some people have, but I just stuck with it.
Right.
So.
And you were pretty successful with it,
Well-
like in basketball and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, yeah, I mean, just through hard work and working through it. My sophomore year, there's a story. My sophomore year, I was, a JV player at the start of the season, but the varsity coach wanted to take a look and see if I could contribute to the team as a sophomore. And so by mid-year, I split time between JV and varsity. And then by the end of the year, I was still playing both, but I was able to earn a letter that year. And this was with a team of 9 seniors and 2 juniors that started, and then myself. So basically, playing in those practices and getting used to the team and that dynamic of that, I would say, practices were brutal. And I can recall just getting run over on screens and picks. But I knew if I got back up, I would eventually earn the respect of my teammates. And I think by the end of the year, having the coach have confidence in me, our last game of the season, being able to, score, hit a couple 3-pointers and add a little spark to the team. We ended up losing the game, but it was one of those testaments to just hard work and just having the belief of just get back up, because we all go through trials and tribulations throughout life, and if you can get back up, things will work out. So
No, I think that's a big part of success in general, is to stay after it. Because a lot of times we may tend to just pull up because we aren't tasting success right away, and then we never know what will materialize. So I appreciate the story of, nope, stay after it, and I'm sure that helped fuel you in other things in life moving forward, once you tasted success.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was one of those things that, this goes hand in hand with self-development and personal growth. And the one thing, one book that I decided to buy at the age of 22, maybe it was recommended to me, but I remember buying the Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, just a great author, and I bought one for a friend of mine, and I just remember in there, the word responsibility. We have the ability to respond, and so we're able to respond in any way we seem fit at a time, through adversity, through positive things, and such. And so I kind of took that to heart and tried to, in times of adversity and tough times, to be able to remember that, and to be able to convey that message to others, where so many people think they're stuck in a rut and they'll never come out of it, but also it keeps them there because they're not taking up little actions daily to get out of that and to think a little bit differently.
So it is a process.
Absolutely, it's a process. Yes.
So speaking of process, we've been sharing with our viewers the last few episodes some self-discovery and reflection, and some tools that we've provided to help guide us in this sense of direction, where basically we are who we are by age 7, and then those experiences kind of fuel the passions that we have today or are searching for tomorrow. Could you tell us, now that you've started to tell us a little bit of how things shaped you, how does it move to the passions you have to today from what your story originated at, that you just shared with us?
Well, I think looking through and with that self-awareness and reflection, we're all shaped through our childhood. Just like you said, at the age of 7, you pretty much have your core beliefs, core things that really are deep inside of you, that maybe as a child you don't understand it, obviously, as a child growing up.
Not conscious of it.
Exactly, exactly. And then as life events happen, I think we as human beings tend to come back and reflect and actually take time to pause and reflect and try to understand ourselves better, to understand how we communicate with each other, and try to work on things that we may not have been aware of if a certain event didn't happen.
Right.
Well, there's likely aha moments that trigger a self-reflection.
Yes.
And ignite a passion as well. Wouldn't you agree, Tina?
I totally agree. I think what I love about your story is that so many people, when they have those things, you have a past, right? You were growing up as an Asian family in a small town with an alcoholic mother, you could have chosen to play the victim and you didn't. And I think that a lot of people that have tragedy happen to them and things that happen, they tend to sit in that and play the victim role and focus on, oh, everything's happened to me. And instead of going, no, I am responsible, like what you said, for myself, and I need to pull tools out and I need to keep motivated and keep moving on. And so I'm so impressed that you were able to do that. But there's got to be hard things that you had to go through in that situation. And I'm just curious to know what are some of the things that you did, even as a kid, to pull yourself out of that and not play the victim?
Well, with that said, I think there's life-defining moments, and there's not just one, right? There's, you go through the different stages, and there's going to be certain time frames where a certain date, a certain event that happens in life, and we all have them, and it's identifying those and try to find meaning and try to find the positive things. So, for instance, one of those life-defining moments for me, and a reason why I don't drink alcohol, I remember my mom, and it was my sister and I, at the age of 10 or 11 years old, driving home, and we got pulled over, and I saw my mom go to jail, and we were driven home by the cops. And so right there, I made, as a 10-year-old, I made a decision. You know what, I don't want to go down that path. I'm not even going to touch alcohol and drink. And so that was just a decision and choice for me at the time, but I knew it was wrong, what was going on, and may not have been aware of what exactly is happening here. But at the same time, I was like, I do not want to go down that road and even make it an issue, right?
So those values, ethics, and morals established as a young boy kicked in. This is not right.
Exactly. Something within me, my moral compass or the true north principle or whatever you want to call it. It's one of those things where you identify what's right versus what's wrong, and you stick with those. And I was able to do that through that. So that's one life-defining moment. I'm sure, obviously, having, back then, how did I overcome some of that? I would say, sports was really what I did, okay, and I identified with. So if that was 95 degrees outside, playing in a haymow, just shooting, or playing in a shed at 25, 30 degrees with my sister, we're taking on my brother that we've never beaten before, and the storage shed is half concrete, half dirt, and we beat him that day. And we kept our hands warm, we saw our breasts in the air, and, of course, my brother, being the person that always wants to win, was encouraging us and almost made us keep playing until he won. But my sister and I talk about that all the time. It's a funny story, but, sports is where, it's one of those things where I think, you've heard athletes say it's kind of their safe zone. And that was mine, and that's where I found confidence in myself. But that can also be an issue once sports is over for you, or your sports career. And that's one of the things that, being a youth sports advocate and wanting to become better and obviously lead in that direction with people and athletes, is a major role these days, because there's so many athletes out there, young athletes, that identify with, here's my worth with my sport, and if I have success, yeah, it's fantastic, right? But what happens when I have failure or when that comes to an end? And another thing that resonates with me too, like, hey, we're in Packer country, so the Brett Favre Hall of Fame speech, it's when we think of life-defining moments, my dad, he was, he shaped part of my life. He was a hard worker. He was an honorable guy. We lost him in 2012. And the thing about just reflecting on his life and everything, and working that back to Brett Favre's Hall of Fame speech, when I saw Brett Favre's Hall of Fame speech and he was speaking about his dad and always wanting to make him proud of him, and how Brett said, if there was ever a positive comment about me, I never heard about it from my dad, right? So that was where, and I could resonate with that because my dad, he was on the farm all the time, so he'd be able to make some games versus not make, and it was just part of the situation. And as a kid, while everyone else, his parents are in the stands, you're hoping that your dad can show up, okay? And so, I took that to heart and just wanted to always make him proud. And during his last months, I was able to spin that and make that a positive thing, and be there with him. And we got to do a lot of last things, right? So we got to go to the last baseball game, Brewer game, although he was a Cubs fan. And also we got to golf the last 9 holes together, which was incredible. And, bowl our last games, all that kind of stuff. And so that really made me just, really spend time with him and get to know him better.
So Tim, with all that now, what are your passions today? So how does this link to what you're passionate about and who you are today and how you're looking to impact others?
Yeah, so passions today, so also in 2012, so I was at a company for 12 and a half years and was let go and was told, hey, you're a great employee, but your numbers are down and you no longer have a job. And at first I had the feelings of, anger and all that. But after that, for like 2 minutes, and then after that, they said that you no longer have a good job. I came up with the words and changed my attitude and said thanks for the opportunity. And moved on because it's inside of me, I thought, hey, you know what, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more than just doing something that I'm not really passionate about, pays the bills, and provides for my family. But at the same time, how can I use this as an opportunity to design kind of like a better schedule for kid-friendly schedule. And when you have a wife that when you come home from that experience and is there to support you and says, hey, we'll do whatever we need to do, that really makes it pretty simple. So looking to that, I was just starting to become involved with youth sports. I'm really passionate about coaching, just being able to see the kids grow and to be a positive influence on them, because this is the next generation. And so it's one of those things where I've been reading up and learning more and more and trying to find mentors in that field to learn more about youth sports development, because I think at the end of the day it's more about, it's a sport, they have fun, but it's more of teaching them life skills as well. And there are many different people that are working towards that, and a lot of nonprofits that do a great job at that, and some nonprofits that are forming to take that to the next level. So it's a pretty exciting time within that arena, and being able to be part of the community as well. When people, we're always looking for good coaches and good people to help out with that, and I just think it really is a way to provide for the community, because we're all in this together at the end of the day, and we're all in this together with the next generation of kids growing up just in life. So that's one thing that I'm really passionate about. I continue to help people and help adults become better as far as their nutrition and health, and try to bring a belief to them that they can make some changes, positive changes for themselves, positive self-esteem changes, and that could be through nutrition, that could be a good book, that could be anything. And it's been amazing being able to see that some people within the organization within Advocare, where people, we've been able to help on our team, people lose over 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely life-changing for people. Their self-esteem comes up, they're a brand new person, and they have that belief again. And I think at the end of the day, when people can come together and have that belief within themselves, that's a game changer. Right. Like you guys, when you talk about the looking in the mirror, okay, the funny mirror, right? When you really ask the hard questions and stand in the mirror and you say, hey, how can you play the victim card? or why didn't you play the victim card? At the end of the day, were there days that I probably did? Absolutely. Okay. But when you look in the mirror, it's hard to lie to yourself. And when you take the attitude of the buck stops here, and I'm responsible for what happens to me, and my attitude is 90% of what goes on, then I think you're way ahead of the game. You're definitely way ahead of the game.
I agree, and I think what you also, just listening to, you didn't take this on yourself, and through some of your experiences with the basketball team and things like that, and what you were talking about that you're passionate about, I think woven in there is strong support networks, positive, strong support networks.
Mentors.
Yep, whether your family supporting you on a job change or a basketball team supporting you, you know, or now it sounds like you're taking a holistic approach to youth athletics in a support and a communal, and it's not just the sport, because you mentioned fun. I'm not so sure it's as fun anymore when it's sport is year-round and a lot of pressure around them to excel. And so, I don't know, support is probably a big part of all what you just said there, too.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the thing. I mean, throughout life, you have people that have been there to support you. We always have good teachers. We always have the coaches that, hey, were hard on us back then, but you're like, man, he was a good coach, though. Or the people that provided you in time of need. And we all have those people that support us, and you bring up mentors. You know, it was a simple thing to be able to walk away from that job and try to figure things out and move in a new direction, just because, you know, at the end of the day, there just weren't too many mentors and people I looked up to at that company at that time. So how do you find mentors? I mean, that's one of the key questions. And so I think obviously the sooner you can do that, so through people's high school experience and trying to go to the next level, where can they find a mentor? And you know, my mentors probably were through mostly reading, and as well as, you know, seminars and different things. You know, you have Tony Robbins, you have Jim Rohn out there, you have Andy Andrews, and you have John Maxwell that we all met together for the first time at a John Maxwell mastermind group session, which was incredible. But through that, I mean, I went to a Deepak Chopra event in Milwaukee when he wasn't as big as he is now, like back in the early, mid-90s maybe, in Milwaukee. So I always had this urge to learn and find things out, and that curiosity just to be able to learn more. And at the end of the day, I know people are like, be the best, or what does that mean, be the best, and you know, at all costs, and I'd like to change that and say, be your best, because at the end of the day, we want to be the best version of ourselves, and I know Tina and yourself can have that same mantra,
right?
Okay, and so, but yeah, the support network, and with youth sports, you know, I just got to say, you know, with the community within Sun Prairie, they've been just awesome and supportive, and you know, just with the positive feedback and different things, and I hope to take that to the next level and try to figure out, hey, what their expectations are for their kids within their teams and youth sports experience, but also to see what their kids and then their expectations, to see if those align, because at the end of the day, you know, with our boys too, we want to be able to find that balance, right, of where, hey, we're coaching them or we're being a parent, or, you know, you can't be both at the same time at most times. And at the end of the day, we want them to have their sports experience, not my sports experience,
Right.
or our
Or
sport,
parents.
or a parent's
Yeah.
sport experience. And I think that's very important just to understand, because at the end of the day, we want our kids to have a passion with those sports and be able to play as long as possible, and that goes into health and wellness down the road. you know, one thing that I take my health so seriously is I want to be playing with my boys, you know, playing basketball against them and hoping that I can keep up with them as long as I can.
Right.
So that is just one of those things that I think that would be a cool thing to do.
Right.
It
So,
is cool. Well, thank you very
Yes,
much
thank
for
you,
sharing
Tim.
today.
You are amazing. Thank
Oh.
you for being our very first guest.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you love what you're doing with youth sports in Sun Prairie and love your mission and everything that you're about. So thank you so much for being with us today.
No, and I think if there's something that flushes out of what you just shared with all of us, that's a good message for youth, adults, anyone, is that you decided at a very early age, getting pulled over by that police officer, that I'm not going to be like that. And all too often today, we hear I'm like that because of
That's that victim thing.
an experience, a person, a parent, you know, all this victim
Right.
approach to things. And so I think there's a cool message for our viewers here on that alone, and I appreciate you sharing your story today.
Hey, happy to be here, and thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Right. So what do we got next?
Well, up next, so we're going to move to another guest.
Yeah. Next episode.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do with the viewers out there is link what we've been having in previous episodes on taking this journey, using the tools to kind of distill the journey and make it clear. But now through storytelling, let's
Right.
bring some action now. That's the next phase of
Right.
this. So
we all have a story.
yeah, so our next guest on the next episode will help us all walk through this process through personal storytelling. And help us reflect on ourselves and maybe continue the journey and the exercise and the tools that we've shared with everyone.
All right. I think that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Tim. We will see you next time on Our Focus is You. Thank
Thank you.
Bye.